Mayor Tommy Roberts, and welcome back to the Mayor's Table. My guest this morning is Cory Styron, who is the Director of the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department at the City of Farmington. Cory, it's good to have you again. You've been a guest a number of times.
Yes, sir. Several times.
Several times. And in the past, when you've been a guest on the Mayor's Table, we've had you here to talk about a specific or special program or event. Today, I want to change the focus just a little bit, and I want to talk more generally about the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department. I think our viewers will find much of this information interesting. I always do find it interesting when I learn a little bit more in detail and in depth about one of our departments. And the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department, as would be indicated by its very name, has a very broad purpose and a very broad scope of services to provide. So if you would just take our viewers through a primer, so to speak, about the scope of the services that are provided by your department.
Well, thank you, Mayor. We do a whole lot of diverse activities and programs within our community. We have the golf course, Pinion Hill, Civitan. The aquatics facility, Lions Pool, falls under our purview. We have the museum system, Gateway Museum, E3, the Children's Museum, the Indian Center, and the soon-to-be open Native American Museum are under our wing. We have the Bonnie Dallas Senior Center, which offers programming for our older adults. The Rec Center, Sycamore Park. It just goes on and on and on. I think probably one of the most unique aspects of our programming is we have the animal shelter. Mm-hmm. The Civic Center is also under our purview, as well as Lions Wilderness Amphitheater. So park operations as well. So we have a pretty broad and diverse span, and we do a lot for the quality of life in this community.
You certainly do, and you've got to have a lot of people to provide those services. Tell our viewers about the number of people who are employed in your department.
We have 106 regular full-time employees, and then we grow during the summer season to a little over 300 by the time we hire lifeguards, seasonal park operations staff, and so forth. So we have 11 division managers that manage those other activities and have a lot of good people under them.
Then talk about your budget.
As a department as a whole, we have a $14.1 million budget. About $2.3 million of that is from a designated quality of life fund that was adopted by council several years ago, and then the other is general fund dollars.
When I'm traveling in the state, and even sometimes when I'm traveling out of state, I will have people comment to me once they know that I'm a Farmington native. They will comment to me about the quality of our parks and recreation program, and specifically about the physical quality of our parks. People who have been to Farmington take note of that. If they drive around Farmington very much, they'll know, take notice of the fact that we have many, many parks that are very well maintained, have specialized equipment there to be used by people who want to go to the park. So I want to quantify, to the extent that we can, for our viewers, some of that information. How many parks do we own and operate?
Well, we have 57 parks that have active elements in it. We have about 5 that are undeveloped. Of that, we have 5.1 miles of trail system along the Animas River. We have 9.65 miles of medians that we keep up. So when you go down through Main Street and Broadway, you see the beautiful colors on the medians. Our staff does that. Within those parks, we have 34 plus playgrounds, 21 tennis courts. We have 25 athletic fields, 19 shelters that you can rent for picnics and playground birthday parties, and a unique nuance, we have 1 RV park.
Mm-hmm. Cory, how long have you been in your position?
I've been here a little over 4 years.
So by now you've had an opportunity to learn a little bit about the evolution of the parks and recreation system in Farmington. How do you explain, or how would you explain to people why and how Farmington has gotten to the place where it is today with this extensive park system and extensive recreation opportunities?
Well, it goes back to the beginning, and it's interesting. We'll be celebrating our 60th year as a park and recreation agency next year. Our forefathers of this community decided that quality of life was hugely important. Our residents wanted some important elements of community life, and through the vision of those people over the years, they have set us up by acquiring parkland, providing assets. The community is hugely supportive of what we do. And through the vision of those, we've established what we have today, and a lot of community and public partnerships within that realm.
I think the citizens of Farmington have supported parks and recreation so much that they have imposed taxes on the citizenry to fund many of the quality of life projects that we do have in Farmington, and we could go down the list and point those out: Pinion Hills Golf Course, the soccer fields, the Riverine expansion of the trail system there, just to name a few. There are many others as well, but the citizens of Farmington have always been able to appreciate the benefit that a quality parks and recreation system brings to a community. And again, I refer often to the fact that I'm approached as I travel when people know that I'm from Farmington. There's something about Farmington's parks and recreation system that has stood out to them if they've visited. It could be just the number and quality of the parks that we have. It could be the Ricketts Park facility. It could be the Riverine project. It could be Pinion Hills. But many of our parks and recreation assets have provided a national identity for the city of Farmington, so that speaks highly of the system. Cory, is there anything in particular that you would want to add to this discussion before we close it out?
Well, I think a couple of things, Mayor. Number one is we have a huge, dedicated, committed staff to bringing quality programs, quality services, trying to anticipate our community needs out there, and they're the backbone of how our systems look today. They're out there when it's bone cold, making sure that the ice is off of areas and snow's off areas. They're preparing fields, restrooms, protecting their assets. So our staff is really good stewards of the assets that we have. Our community is huge support. We have an example will be the River Reach Foundation that has given us 35 years of commitment to along the river. The Animal Shelter Foundation that has been committed to improving animal care in our community. They did this by raising money to offset costs of our initial shelter setup. Have the Anasazi Foundation that's been a huge community group that has supported the arts out at Lyons Wilderness for 30 plus years now. And then the Museum Foundation, which is the backbone of our museum system. So we have really huge community support. This is evident that we've been able to document this is because we're the only accredited agency by the National Park and Recreation Association in New Mexico. Our peers aren't at the same level as us. And we want to continue to provide that opportunity, give this community what it wishes, and we're also now beginning to fully realize how we can participate in diversifying our economy by some of the assets we have as a tourism or adventure base. We hit a pretty big home run last year with opening up Lake Farmington, which had been an underserved asset in our community for many years. And we're having a lot of people now take interest in what's going to be the next step there. So we have a great community that loves the outdoors. They want activities. And with the weather we've had the past couple of weeks, who wouldn't want to be outside enjoying one of our beautiful parks?
That's right. This is the time of year when people begin to think about the summer months. Kids are out of school. People are looking for local opportunities. Some people will do some traveling during the summer, but for the most part, everyone is looking for the opportunities for recreation inside the community during those summer months. So we know that we can provide those opportunities for those people. I appreciate the fact that you mentioned the accreditation process and the recognition. That's not something that's easy to accomplish, as is evidenced by the fact that Farmington is the only community in the state of New Mexico that has received that accreditation. So that speaks well to former elected leaders and administrators, as well as current elected leaders and administrators, and we're proud of that designation. So, Cory, I want to thank you for being my guest here this morning on the Mayor's Table, and we'll have you again.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
We want to thank you for joining us on the Mayor's Table this morning, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next Monday.